All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Geek Garage podcast. We are on episode number 56, and it is our Villains Month retrospective, plus a little extra on top. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But with me, as always, is my trusty but not dusty co-host, Ted White. How are you doing, good sir?
I feel like we were going to work on that. And then I feel like also that there was no work done on that. So...
you might be right. All right, like I said, we are doing a quick retrospective on our Villains Month that we did for the month of April, where we covered different some of our favorite villains in a bunch of different mediums. And we also have a couple other things to get through, like our upcoming episodes and some other cool, interesting content. At least we think so. But of course we're known to like pat ourselves on the back, but be also self-deprecating at the same time.
It's a very complicated existence that we lead.
Yes, it's very multi-layered. It's complicated. There's levels to this.
Very onion-like.
Yes, onion. But before we get to all that exciting content, we are going to give you a quick little update on our events. So if you have been listening to the last couple episodes, this is going to be not new news to you. But if you haven't tuned in a while, then this will be completely new news. Yeah, Ted, do you want to take over for the events?
Sure. So as David said, this is probably old hat to some of you if you have been listening. And if you have not been listening, great job. Keep up the good work. This will be news to you.
Right. But if you have been listening, thank you.
Anyway,
I get it.
First things first. EvilCon, that's in Evansville, Indiana, has been rescheduled. It is now the weekend of July 10th through the 12th. Looking forward to seeing all of the people there and being involved in that. This will be our first year there. Hopefully first of many.
Yes, hopefully so.
Next, AkaiCon is still currently set for July 24th through the 26th here in Middle Tennessee. We had a lot of fun last year, despite us being complete disasters at having a good booth, or even really having a booth. But
I don't think we'll ever not bring that up.
No.
It's just funny and hilarious to both of us.
That is basically our tagline for the podcast, is we went to AkaiCon like a couple of fucking morons.
And we laugh at ourselves constantly for it.
Yes, but look forward to that. Again, it was a lot of fun last year despite our idiocy. So it'll be a good time again. The Middle Tennessee Anime Convention, MTAC, has been postponed and not yet rescheduled. As soon as we hear something about that, we'll of course let you all know.
Yep.
MomoCon down in Atlanta, Georgia has been postponed and moved to 2021, so long ways off. And then finally the Nashville Comic-Con, the first one that was supposed to happen, has also been postponed until 2021. So those are pretty well off into the ether still.
Yeah.
A lot could change between now and then, but look forward to those when they do roll back around. And as always, look forward to seeing and meeting all of our 12 fans that come up and talk to us, and the other 400 people that just want our fucking free candy. So,
hey, I mean, that's what it's there for. It's we can't expect to catch them all, and reel them in and like capture their attention, because after all, we are just two dudes that bullshit for like an hour to an hour and a half and just happen to have microphones in front of us. That's
somehow you actually made the podcast sound better than it is by I have a lot of complicated feelings. I don't understand how that happened, but
what? I think it's time to hit that intro music and get this
shit show on the road.
Yes. Let's get it done.
Alright, so as promised, we're going to hit that retrospective of our Villains Month now. This is the part where it starts, so be prepared. You should have already been prepared, actually. But
spoiler alert, we are talking.
Yes, in case you hadn't noticed. it was a month where we talked about villains on 4 episodes. Well, technically 3 episodes. I don't watch them. None of this matters. So we decided when we came up with the idea for this themed month to go over a few different mediums.
Mm-hmm.
We did books or fiction, more accurately, movies, television, and then comic books. So kind of the big, I guess, triumvirate, if you will, of mediums.
Yep.
The most popular form, at least. And, we didn't try and reinvent the wheel, as we discussed on one of the podcasts we did for this, as well as several other podcasts in the past. We try to approach each episode with the understanding that there are going to be people listening that know almost everything or everything there is to know about whatever subject we're covering, as well as people that maybe have never even heard of that subject. So we want to try and make it interesting for people that are knowledgeable, as well as not too intimidating for people that are like, what in the fuck is a comic book?
Exactly. Yeah.
And to that end, I think we did a pretty good job of walking the line where the characters that we picked were pretty popular, but not they were pretty popular, but weren't necessarily the most obvious every time.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
not too cliche.
Right. I mean, some of them definitely were. Like, I picked Dracula, for Christ's sake. So I mean, it's not like we got super, super deep into the woods. But
sure.
Also, it's not like we were just like Thanos, because they're
right.
the number one grossing movie of all time. Everybody knows who Thanos is now.
Yeah. 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 I like you said, I'll echo what you said, where I thought we also did a really good job of teetering that line, which, is a line that we're constantly trying to toe correctly, where we're not too boring for the people that are already well engrossed in that topic. That, like if Spider-Man is your jam and we're like, Spider-Man or Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider, and you're like, shut the fuck up already. But we also try and not get too deep into the weeds, as they say, with for newbies to that topic. And if we do, we try and give you a proper heads up, or maybe some literature that you can go check out, and then maybe come revisit the podcast at a later date. So yeah, Ted, I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought we did a pretty good job with this theme month.
Yes, so this is the only episode where we will ever think that we did good at anything. So soak it in, people.
Quite possibly, yes. This
is what glorious. Optimism looks like.
Right.
Don't like it. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we're not gonna list every character that we picked in every episode. That would be stupid. They're all available. All the episodes are available, as well as I'm pretty sure David did a blog post about it. Or maybe was going to and then didn't. I don't know.
Yep, it's up on the website. It's I think let's see, the post is called appropriately named David and Ted's Villain Picks.
All right, well, that's accurate, if nothing else.
Yeah, everything's listed on there. All the episodes that we did, I got little image thumbnails for your picks and my picks for each episode, as well as the honorable mentions. So anyone who happened to be listening, this was actually requested by a few of our listeners that said, or requested that they be able to go back and have a reference point. That way they don't have to like scrub through the episode to find that book or that movie or whatever we mentioned. So
yes, thank you, listeners, for doing our jobs for us, because we're fucking terrible at them.
Yeah, we can't be everywhere and think of everything, but we can try, but we most of the time fail.
I was gonna say, David, we don't think of anything. That's the problem.
Anyway, that's why we're so successful. Failing forward.
I'm glad that optimism lasted as long as it did.
Right.
Anyway, so go check that out. That's on geekgaragepodcast.com, as well as some of our other blog posts and all the episodes and other fun, cool shit like listicles. That's a joke. There's no listicles, but maybe one day we will sell out.
Anyways.
Yeah. David, do you have anything else you want to hit on about our previous episodes?
I had a lot of fun with it. Like, I didn't necessarily have to do a lot of research, because, we were just kind of Well, I take that. Really, the only like quote unquote research I guess I did was reading a Spider-Man comic book, because up until that point, like, I really only caught like a few single issues here and there. But I wanted to get like one series or run under my belt before we did, because one of my favorite comic book villains was Doc Ock, and I knew him from the comic books and the movie, but I wanted to like say, hey, I read this comic book, so I'm pulling him from the source material. But yeah, it was fun kind of like revisiting some of the mediums. Like, I don't think I really reread anything as far as our for our fiction episode. I might have went back and rewatched one or two of the movies from my villain picks from the movies or TV shows. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. I had a lot of fun with it. It was cool to when we decided on this month and all that. This is right when we started to get a lot of like listener interaction on our Facebook group page, which was really cool and has been cool. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the listener interaction or the fan interaction, because that is one of the other big things we wanted to cover on this episode.
Yes, indeed.
We teased a lot throughout the month that we had some polls up on the Facebook group talking about who was a more effective villain, or questions asking like, hey, what are your picks for great villains and things like that. And then we didn't actually ever really go too deep into covering any of them because, we're dumb as shit.
I think we gave like one or two shout outs like as we could remember, but we got to a point where we just forgot so much that we knew we were going to have to come up with another plan. And then that's one of the big driving forces behind me suggesting this retrospective episode, is so we have this opportunity to thank all of you in general for participating and being awesome listeners and fans, but throwing out suggestions and your picks. So we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. So with that said, we're going to list off. I think this is a comprehensive list of everything that was recommended to us.
Yes.
Out of the respect for privacy, we will not give your whole name. If for no other reason, then you probably don't want to be associated or known as someone who listens to this disaster we call podcast. So I want to be respectful of that, as well as, if you're like me, you don't want everybody looking your shit up on the interwebs.
Yes.
So we'll do first name, last initial. If you don't like that, stop listening to the show. Nobody would blame you. Moving right along, we will go by episode. So episode 53 for fiction, 54 for silver screen psychos or movies / television shows, and then finally episode 55 for comic book baddies. If you are not on here, it's because David doesn't like you. I didn't compile this, don't blame me. Moving right along, for Fiction's Foulest, here are the ones that were recommended to us. First one from Travis Z was Tyler Durden, also one of David's picks.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Travis is a good guy. And no one else is. So sorry,
no,
everyone else.
Just Travis Z.
Just Travis.
The rest
and
of
that's it.
You do okay, I guess.
No, I'm just joking. Everyone else is great. All right, next up we got Joey C. He had The Elusive Man, which I think it's from what is it?
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. Yeah.
Yes.
He tried to give it to me first as a video game, and I was like, bro, I said fiction, and he was like, okay, and then apparently fucking Mass Effect has a book series. So
yeah,
cool.
it's a big deal. It's a
yeah.
That's a good pick. I've not read any of the books, but just based solely on from the game, that's a very solid pick. Respect for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Next, we have Megan Z, who picked some word I can't pronounce. Neferit. That's probably wrong. Don't come for me on the Twitter. Neferit. No ferrets. That's it. It's not.
No ferrets. No Neferit, furry noodles.
It's Neferet. So just I don't know. I'm a moron. From the House of Night series, which I also am not familiar with, but it sounds very, I'm going to guess fantasy or magic oriented.
I possibly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If only we had done the bare minimum of research for this, but I'm going to assume that since someone picked it, that's a good pick. So great job.
Yes. Good job. Megan. Oh my god, I'm
Whatever
sorry,
your last name. Next.
Megs. No, we're friends. Everyone's friends. All right. Next up, we have Lydia L. She. Oh my god, this is another one that we're gonna butcher.
Veterinari. Yeah,
Veterinari from
sure.
Discworld.
The
Uh,
veterinarian
the,
race from Discworld by Terry Pratchett. That's a
yeah.
really popular like fantasy series. I've heard about
Is
that. That's
is
pretty
it?
well known. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually spent a little bit of time looking it up today because I had actually never heard of it, and it seems pretty cool actually. But if
Yeah,
Lydia
Terry
likes it,
Pratchett's like pretty well respected within the fantasy
oh yeah,
novel community, I guess.
that's cool. Yeah, maybe I'll stick it on ye old list that is never getting shorter, always getting longer. So
No, it never is.
yeah,
Next we have Mimi B. Her name rhymes apparently. Longtime friend of the show.
yes,
She picked President Snow from the Hunger Games series,
yeah.
which a little on the nose.
Hey, but that guy's a fucking dick.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
he deserved to die. That old fuck.
Okay, well,
But
this has taken a dark turn that I did not expect.
hey, I just hold a lot of resentment for the people in the Capitol. But yeah, next we have Ryan P. And he, oh my god, again with the names,
Just call him Joe. The guy's name is Joe. We're moving on.
Galabatorix.
Galbatorix. Sounds like a fucking dinosaur.
Well, I mean, it's from Aragon.
Yeah, well,
So
that's about dragons, so that's pretty close.
yeah, you're not far away. But yeah, thanks Ryan, appreciate it. You're the man.
Steve O.L., excellent name. Picked the vampire Lestat from the Anne Rice, I don't know, Vampire Extended Universe. I don't know
Yeah.
what it's called, but like Interview with the Vampire and all that. That is a
No.
great pull. That is an excellent pick.
Yes. Thanks, Steve-O, for throwing that out. I appreciate it, even though you are a pretentious douchebag. Actually, you and Ted would like get along great. I think you guys should go bowling together.
Well, first of all, pretentious people don't bowl, but that's not even.
do they just order food and watch other people bowl?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. Once again, moving right along.
Yes, this is a great episode. I'm glad we're doing this. Christopher J chose Pennywise, which if you don't know who Pennywise is, you have not been paying attention. But obviously, that's the creature from It by Stephen King.
Right.
That is another great pull.
Yeah. Yes, this is a Pennywise from It, has been on my reading list for a really long time. It's in the queue, and I'll get to it one day. I'll probably have to do an audiobook on it though.
That is like probably the most based on the criteria we pulled, that like may be the perfect fiction pick, and I'm kind of pissed that I didn't think of that.
You know, I actually I think because recently I had watched It Chapter 2, and so I had Pennywise in my head for both the movie episode and this episode, but you know, I thought it'd be a little too on the nose for the movies because it's so recent, and then I like I said, I haven't read it yet. So obviously I didn't want to pick Pennywise from the movie or book I hadn't read.
Yeah, no, I mean for sure that makes total sense.
But yeah, up next we got Dwayne L. Big Dwayne. He picked the Dark One, which is kind of like an ambiguous, kind of floaty character. I had to get clarification on what the fuck he was talking about. I was like, is this like what
He's
is
so
this?
dark no one knows who the fuck it is.
Right. The night is a very dark time for me. It's dark for everyone, not for Eskimos or dudes with night vision goggles. But anyways, so I asked for clarification on what the hell he was talking about, and he said basically the Dark One refers to like any like nameless like figure who shall not be named, you know,
Just say fucking Voldemort. Moving on. Josh W. picked.
I don't think that's necessarily what he was talking. He also might have been just like being an actual antagonist in my post and just being like, "Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah, I
fuck with
believe that
you."
you just got trolled.
It is quite possible.
Yeah.
But jokes on him. I took the time to write his suggestion down, and
That's not what you know. What? Okay, David. We'll talk after the show. Josh W. picked Demandred from the Wheel of Time. Excuse me, from A Wheel of Time, that series, which is also hugely popular. My girlfriend is actually reading through that right now, and she's on like book 6 and is telling me about it. And I'm like, yeah, that's not something I'm ever going to read. It's just not my steez, but it sounds cool.
yeah. You say book 6 out of how many? You know,
I don't know, man. It's a fantasy series, so probably like fucking 400.
I had a lot of not well, I was about to say I had a lot of friends in high school. I didn't have any friends in high school. I had like 2 that tolerated me. But one of those guys that tolerated me, he read a lot of fantasy books, and he like just took the time to explain them to me every once in a while, and I was just like, dude, I gotta be honest with you. Like, this shit is like so fucking bizarre. Like, I don't know.
If I open a book and there's like a list of characters and then a 14-page introduction to each character, like I love reading and I love books, but dude, I got shit to do.
Right. When Tolkien says like, "Hey, bitch, time to wrap it up," then I think it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's more power to everybody that's into that, but man,
Sure.
just fantasy's never done too much for me. And thus ends the list of fictional characters. There were a couple in there that may have missed the memo about what a fictional character is, but otherwise a pretty solid list.
Yep.
Thank you to everyone who dropped those suggestions in.
Yeah, for
Moving
sure.
right along. What?
Yeah.
What?
So we got sorry, do you want me to do this
Hello?
one? Hello?
Moving right along, we have our silver screen psychos suggestion. Again, these are from movies or television series.
I think it's called Serai.
Yes, it's actually it's series. Yes, it's Serai. No, it's not. We'll go through the movies first because, unsurprisingly, there were a lot more movie suggestions than there were television. Or I guess we could just knock the television ones out first, David. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, we can do TV first, especially since in the episode we did TV villains first. So yeah.
Sounds fake, but okay.
Yeah. But first we got Mimi B again. She this was one of my favorite picks, and I can't remember if it came up. I think it came up in the episode. But she suggested Cottonmouth from Luke Cage. I was actually one of the few people that, at least that I know of, that actually liked Luke Cage. And I thought Cottonmouth was an excellent villain from the series. So great pick, Mimi. Appreciate it.
Yes, I believe you and Mimi were the only people that watched Luke Cage.
Quite possibly, yes.
Yeah. Next, we have a pick from Xavion, who picked Cersei from Game of Thrones. I don't know which one that is, and I am not interested enough to find out. But sure, David, take this one.
Actually, starting at the beginning, no. Yeah, Cersei is, she's definitely an antagonist throughout the entire series.
Is she the one that they made all those memes that were like, "Tell her I want her to know it was me"?
No, she's
that's all
awesome.
I need. Just a yes or a no.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that definitely wasn't her. It is Lena Hades' character. She was Leonidas's spouse in 300, if you remember that actress.
I do.
Yes, okay. Yeah. But great pick, Xavion. That she's a grade A bitch. So yeah, great pick. Next we have Lindsay D. This is actually not my wife, but my sister-in-law. She picked the master from Doctor Who. I had her explain it to me, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So he sounds evil.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who calls themselves the master, who has the audacity to do that, they've probably got to be a dick. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a solid pick.
Yeah, either that or just yeah, yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah, Pressing ever forward for movies, our first suggestion comes from Daryl B, who picked Bellatrix Lestrange.
Yeah.
Lestrange, it's a French name, from Harry Potter,
Mm-hmm.
the series. I'm going to assume she was in more than one film. I have not seen them, but David, again, can probably take the lead on that.
Yeah, I mean, great pick. I can't remember. She might have came up in my honorable mentions during that episode, but Daryl, fantastic pick. Uh, n- uh, Probably my second favorite villain from Harry Potter, both the books and the movies. She's not to say that Dumbledore or not Dumbledore, sorry, Voldemort wasn't an effective villain, but uh, they the the fallback villains in this book series and movie series were just so great because they had limited time, so they made them like doubly effective. I know doubly's not a word, but anyways,
That's a word. Also, you were right the first time. Dumbledore is kind of the ultimate villain in that.
I mean,
He lets a literal child go up against a genocidal wizard person. That's kind of a dick move.
right, like, hey, the people have actually died like entering this tournament.
Good luck, motherfucker.
I could stop this, but I don't know. I get in trouble with the space people. So yeah, Harry, sorry, you're gonna have to go fucking fight a dragon. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Also, there's a troll in the dungeon, so.
I'm sorry, what's that last part again?
and my pet 3-headed dog is like roaming the castle somewhere. Anyway, sweet dreams.
How did he get that job? He's like the worst, most unqualified fucking person to lead children. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got a fucking cool ass phoenix, so maybe he like.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was the criteria for being a successful teacher.
It in wizarding school it could be.
I guess they play by a different set of rules.
Why the hell not? I don't.
Yeah. It makes at least as much sense as anything else we've ever talked about.
Right. So that's actually a good segue to the next pick by Caitlin M, who chose Umbridge. That was one of my picks from this episode. Or was that from the, I can't remember if that was from the movies episode or the books episode. Oh, it was from the books episode. My bad. But either way, great pick. Caitlin, I appreciate that. Umbridge, like I said in the books episode, was a not very nice lady. She was pretty hardcore in all the wrong ways. So great pick.
Yeah. Zach B picked Miranda Hilliard from The Devil Wears Prada, which that is a fucking excellent pick.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yes. I love this movie. Guilty pleasure. I will admit, but yeah, it's great movie and a great pick.
Yeah. And also Meryl Streep is the queen. So moving right along, David.
She can play Batman. There's that funny bit in that one episode of Modern Family where Cam is he's in some sort of like focus group or something, and like some girl goes like I really like this movie, but I just didn't see Meryl Streep as a good choice for this character. And then it has like a cutaway or talking head with Cam, and he's like, excuse me, bitch, Meryl Streep could play Batman and it would be a good fit.
She's a fantastic actress.
Yeah. But anyways, next we have Sarah W, who suggested Dr. Evil from Austin Powers. Yes, indeed. And Verbal from the usual suspects.
Yeah,
Kevin Spacey's character.
That's a good one. A little dangerous because Kevin Spacey is canceled as shit. So
yeah, I hope this episode isn't removed from the internet.
We're going to get memory hold
with just for mentioning Kevin Spacey's name. But yeah, I think we'll cut it right there before we say anything else incriminating.
Next, we have Charlesy, who picked Dr. Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Manhunter, that whole series there. That is a great pick. That was one of mine, as I recall. Yeah. So, great minds.
Spirits.
Yes. Excellent pick.
Right. Next up, we have Travis Z again, who voted for or suggested Dr. Emilio Lizardo. I'm guessing that's how you say it. From the movie The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. That is the whole name.
It's actually bonsai, but that's all right. I'll let that one go.
What did I say?
Banzai, banzai. Wrong is what you said, basically.
Okay, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. Bonsai. Right. Oh my
Bonsai.
god. What we're gonna
This is engaging content.
Ted, do you have anything on this movie? Have you seen this?
This is a classic B movie, and that's a very good pick.
Okay.
Based on that.
Okay. I figured it was after just a quick Google search, I was like, yeah, okay, this is, like definitely B level entertainment from possibly the sci-fi genre or horror genre, maybe.
Yes.
So
next we have Carmilla, who picked Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that fits pretty well. She convinced a teenager to like whoosh for legs to basically get some Earth dick, which
And it all backfires.
That's a bad lady.
Right. She's
Speaking
like
of canceled, thank you. This is the last episode of the podcast.
Precisely. Yeah. But no, thank you, Carmela, for that pick. This is a great one. I love The Little Mermaid, and I don't care who knows it. But yeah, next up we have Terry S, who picked Hans Gruber from Die Hard. I think this is probably a pretty popular one, or at least pretty well known. One of the most classic action movies of all time, especially one that involves Bruce Willis. I don't know, Ted. I've only seen like the first Die Hard movie maybe a handful of times, and the first time I paid attention the most. So I don't know. Do you have anything to say on this one?
I don't know that Hans Gruber is like a particularly compelling villain. I think that his portrayal, Alan Rickman's portrayal, is like really what elevates it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's a bad pick because, like I said, Alan Rickman is the jam in this movie and was a fantastic actor. But as far as like villains, Hans Gruber doesn't crack like my top 100. But still,
Sure.
great portrayal.
Yeah, for sure. After that, we have John J, who suggested Oogie-Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Thank you, John. That is a fantastic pick. Ted has little to nothing, in fact, probably several negative things to say about The Nightmare Before Christmas, in which he is 100% incorrect in all of those opinions. But I'll go ahead and fill in that, like I said, this is a great pick, great movie. A lot of effort and work went into the stop motion making of this film, and yeah, Oogie-Boogie, the making of this dude with maggots crawling out of his face. I don't even want to imagine the work that went into this. So yeah, great pick, John. Appreciate it.
All right, so next we have Lindsay D, who picked Loki.
That's my wife.
I'm going to be honest right now. I think that one's really stretching. It's really stretching.
You think he borders more on the anti-hero status?
I do. Now, granted, he was the big bad in the first Avengers film, but
sure,
was he though? So I don't know. We're gonna let that one slide. And then the Mind Flayer from Stranger Things, which is a television program. We should have done this before, but I watched like 4 episodes of Stranger Things and was like, if I wanted to feel nostalgic, I would watch something good from the 80s, not something pretending to be. So I have nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much in the minority of the folks that do not watch Stranger Things and do not like it. It's pretty widely accepted and beloved show, and I guess it's fine. I mean, I can understand, like, it does have a lot of nostalgia backing to it, and so if the whole, especially 80s nostalgia, since it's kind of being has been done a lot the last like 10 years or so. If that doesn't really do anything for you, then I can definitely see a lot of the
It's
appeal of the show
it's
lost.
80s nostalgia for people who weren't alive in the 80s.
Um, Sure. I mean, I can see an argument for that. All right, so moving along to comic book baddies. Megan Z mentioned a little earlier. She suggested Magneto from X-Men. Ted, I believe, wasn't this either one of your picks or honorable mention, right?
Yeah, it was an honorable mention for me. Magneto is an excellent character, and this is a very solid pick. I just if we were basing this solely off of like Magneto from Ultimatum, yes, 100%. But I think that there have been too many instances of Magneto trying to do the right thing in the wrong way for him to be really truly be a villain in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I've always kind of understood, like, I haven't read any of the X-Men comic books, but I kind of always understood Magneto as one of those, like, really complicated characters where sometimes he falls on the side of quote unquote right or good, the side where, Professor Xavier and, all the gifted youngsters fall. But, um, yeah, I still, decent pick if you're gonna pull him from, like the run you mentioned. So
For sure.
yeah.
Kirk G picked Doctor Doom, which is an excellent pick. Thank you, Kirk. Somebody else finally has some fucking sense. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Kirk, he's been on the podcast a couple times
Yeah,
by
long time
now.
for the show.
Yeah, and he's a solid dude, and yeah, great pick, Kirk. Appreciate it. Next, we have Ryan P. Once again, coming in with the Joker and Bane, both from Batman. Like I said earlier, Ryan, if you want to scroll back in the Facebook group and try and find this post, me asking for comic book suggestions, you can find him in as a Bane cosplay. And it's pretty legit because Ryan is gigantic, but like buff. Yeah, he pulls off the Bane cosplay really, really well. So, but yeah, thanks, Ryan, appreciate it.
Well, and I know Bane was one of your picks. That's
Yep.
a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Julian, another longtime friend of the show, former guest,
Yep.
selected Rachele Ghoul from Batman. Very good pick. Very, very good pick. And Magneto again. I'm seeing a lot of Magneto appearances, and while I don't think that's a bad choice, like I said, I just, it's a tough call. But both great
Yeah.
characters. Of course, Rachele Ghoul, the leader of the League of Shadows, maniac basically, and the Lazarus Pits are a very I have a lot of complicated feelings about the Lazarus Pits, but this is not the time or the place. That's a great pick. Thank you, Julian.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Lydia L. She suggested Lex Luthor from Superman, Wilson Fisk from Spider-Man, and I think he's made appearances in others like Daredevil and some others, right?
Pretty much
Right,
the
Ted?
whole MCU has, or
Sure.
whole Marvel universe rather, has fucked with the Kingpin at one point or the other.
Right, yeah. And then I was gonna say Ra's al Ghul because I think that's how they say it in the movies, but it
That's
sounded like
incorrect.
but like Raj, like Rag almost.
Raish.
Raish
Yeah.
Al Ghul, yeah, from Batman.
Moving right along, Lindsay, who picked Carnage from Spider-Man / Venom. Interesting pick. Carnage is a little too like 90s for me, a little too aggressively 90s at that. But I mean, he's basically like, what if the Joker had a symbiote suit? So I mean, I get it's based on that, it's not a bad pick.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it definitely falls within our criteria. So yeah, and I think Carnage is going to be in the next Venom movie. So we'll
Yes, he
see.
is in fact, and they actually released the title of it, and it's called Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which is maybe the worst title I've ever heard in my life, other than that shit show that they called Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I read that title and it seems to me like they really didn't put too much effort into coming up with a title. Like they were just like, all right, minimum effort. Like let
Right.
out in a tight 10, okay? You know, those Burger King burgers aren't going to pick up and eat themselves. So
Yes, there's a pizza coming, so like let's just get this over with.
right, need my pepperonas. But anyways, moving along, we have Jeff B, friend of both of ours and
Yes,
listener.
long time friend and friend of the show.
Yes, so shout out to Jeff. He picked the Joker once again from Batman, Black Adam, and Green Goblin. Black Adam, Ted, do you know much about this guy? He was kind of a new
It's a
name to me.
yeah, it's a DC villain. Um, I'm not super familiar with him from comics. I do know that he's going to be. I want to say he's like one of Shazam's antagonists.
Yeah,
Um,
I did see that in a
I
quick
know that
wiki search.
he's had a couple other like bigger roles in a couple of event books or runs, but solid pick. And of course, Green Goblin. Everybody likes the
Right.
fucking Green Goblin, man.
Yeah. I mean, he's a dude in a goblin suit who rides a hoverboard and
Mm-hmm.
throws exploding pumpkins. How fucking cool! Cooler do you get than that? Not much is the answer. So, oh shit, he had a couple others. It's wrapping along to the second
Yes.
line. God, I'm doing great. He picked Doc Ock, just like I did. So good job, Jeff. And Doctor Doom from
Yes.
Fantastic Four, which we have
Which
said.
Doctor Doom is the correct answer always.
I thought Darkseid was the correct answer always.
Well, there can be more than one. It's multiple choice.
Well, hey, yeah, it's DC and Marvel, so there can be one for each.
Yes. Christopher J, who I believe had an earlier appearance on one of the other lists, picked
Uh,
Skinner. What?
I was just gonna say, I think there's multiple Christophers on here.
Okay. Well,
I
it's a very popular name. Anyway,
no, I'm just fucking. I don't
none
think
of this
he.
matters. There's a person named Christopher, perhaps a second one. It's irrelevant. This Christopher picked Skinner Sweet from American Vampire. I don't know what that is, but it's got vampires, so it's either got a really good chance of being awesome or an equally good chance of being a disaster. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and hope that our listeners are not fans of terrible things. So we're going to say that it's a good thing and a good character.
No, I remember looking this up again very briefly earlier today, and it looked really cool. It kind of it looked like something that I might be into, which is saying something because I'm not typically into like vampire type stuff. I'm very picky and choosy with what I watch when it comes to vampires. Um, Especially now that I have trust issues regarding it when I was coerced by my wife to go see Twilight. But that is another different story. And actually, speaking of my wife, she had the last pick for the comic book episode, or last suggestion. She picked the Shredder, which, if you aren't aware of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles also having a comic book,
First of all, how dare
that
you?
exactly, because they're awesome. And yeah, this is a great pick. I think we talked about Shredder in one of the episodes, right?
Yes, Shredder was one of my honorable mentions for comic books because it's a guy
That's
in a
right.
giant metal suit with claws and razors and shit, which that's fucking dope. Plus, he's a ninja, so there's literally nothing about this character that I don't like.
Right, yeah. It's the character that makes Raiden just like shit his pants and run in the opposite direction. It's like I ain't fucking with that. So, but yeah, thank you, Lindsay, for your suggestion, and I love you very much, loser. Anyways, so Ted, you want to move on to the next little segment for talking about upcoming episodes?
Yes, so once again, thank you to everyone who participated, voted in all the polls, tossed out suggestions. Thank you all. It means a lot that there are people that will take 10 seconds out of their day to feed us
Yes.
content because we're idiots. As David said, we do have some upcoming episodes we wanted to share with you. We're going to do another semi-themed month in May where we're going to do first viewings. So the way this will work is David and I have each selected 2 movies that the other one has not seen. I picked 2 movies David hasn't seen. He picked 2 movies that he likes a lot that I have not seen. And we're going to torture the other one by making them watch those movies. Hopefully not torture. Although, knowing David, I'll probably hate them. Anyway,
Yeah.
that will start in the first week of May.
Yeah.
Assuming we all don't die of coronavirus before then.
God, I hope not. But no, we tossed around, like we threw a lot of shit, a lot of ideas into the ring when we were, game planning for this episode. Most of it, I think, got thrown out just because we wanted to keep it pretty simple, pretty simplistic. But I think one of the things that we were talking about was like giving each other the ability to like veto one movie title or something like that, and it's just kind of spiraling out of control. So we just decided to be like, yeah, I'm gonna try and pick movies that I think you'll actually like, and not ones that you will literally have to suffer through. And I hope you will return the favor. So but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Where
I
it
can
goes.
promise you at least one wuxia film. That's a guarantee.
Okay.
There will be kung fu.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much like Ted said. It's kind of a loose theme month. I mean, it does have a theme. They'll of course all be movie episodes, but we yeah that's kind of the only like set in stone thing that that we had down. We're considering doing an anniversary episode for Psycho. June 16th. It is celebrating its 60th anniversary, which is pretty big, and of course, it's one of the most iconic horror suspense films of all time. Of course, I'm referring to the black and white original version. So yeah, we were tossing around the idea of doing an episode on that in June. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Psycho, what are you doing? Just what are you doing with your life, man? That's a fucking excellent film.
If we end up doing that, we should carve out like maybe 10 or 15 minutes to talk about like some of the marketing that they did for this movie, like namely like not letting people into the movie late, so they wouldn't walk in and like either be before, like right before, during, or after the the pivotal shower scene. And there was just a couple other like really crazy aspects to the marketing of this movie, which I'll save if we end up doing this episode. So yeah, be on the lookout for that as well.
Speaking of new content, we are going to actually start paying attention and remember that we have a blog on the website.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that David and I pitched out the idea for was to do a comic corner. He and I both like comics a lot, so I'm just kind of writing up a short synopsis of stuff that we've been reading lately. So for any of you that are into comic books, be on the lookout for that. That'll start getting posted here before too long, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure within the next week or so we'll have something. We'll probably pick a comic book that we've recently read, which I mean is, like Ted said, is kind of the synopsis of the whole or the premise of the whole idea. So yeah, I think as far as new stuff goes, that's pretty much all we had to talk about. Of course, we have the new Facebook group that's kind of been going on the last I'd say month or so. If you've already liked us on Facebook, like our actual page, thank you. If you haven't, definitely go do that. But a lot of like the conversation and whatnot, like it's still like new posts, new blog posts and new episodes, like those will always show up on the Facebook page. But if you're looking for like interaction and conversation, where we do polls and all that, you definitely want to search for the Geek Garage group page, which is the Geek Garage fans and listeners group. So yeah, if you want to join, just search for that. Once again, you can find us on pretty much all the podcast platforms out there. If you'd like to give us a subscribe, leave a rating and review, give us a holler on social media, Twitter, Facebook, of course, Instagram. Yeah, and we'll see you next time. And as always, be kind, stay geeky, and eat lots of cheesecake. Bye! Surprise, motherfucker!